What if everything you've been searching for, clarity, abundance, healing, was already inside you? This is not just an audiobook, it's a transmission. Discover how to bend reality with intention, embody your highest self, and create from pure energy. You're not waiting for power, you're remembering it. Now activate it. In the stillness of early morning, just before the world stirs and the sky begins to pale, there exists a space, a quiet in between, where the soul speaks. It doesn't shout or demand attention, it whispers. And if you listen closely enough, you'll hear it. That whisper carries a truth most have forgotten. You are more powerful than you've ever been told. Not because of what you've done or will do, but simply because of what you are. Within you is a spark of the same intelligence that governs galaxies, crafts flowers, and stirs oceans. It is not absent. It waits, dormant, like an ancient code ready to be awakened. For some, the whisper comes during moments of despair. For others, it rises during triumph. Often it arrives in silence between breaths, a nudge in the heart that says, there is more. You've felt it. The unshakable sense that life isn't just happening to you, that somehow beneath the routine, beyond the noise, something magnificent lies just beyond the veil. This feeling isn't fantasy, it's a signal. It's the part of you that has never forgotten the truth. Consider the story of Clara, a young woman working in a typing pool during the 1940s, her life dictated by the rhythm of keys and the rules of others. Day in and day out, she lived in grayscale until one afternoon when the electricity in the office flickered. The lights dimmed, then surged, and in that brief moment, her world seemed to pause. She looked up from her desk, and for a fleeting instant, she saw herself, not as a typist, but as a speaker before crowds, a writer of influence, a beacon of light. The vision passed as quickly as it came, but it was enough. That whisper sparked a decision, and over the coming months, Clara began writing at night. Years later, her words would move nations. You may not work in an office, and your life may look very different from Clara's, but that whisper is universal. It speaks through dreams, through intuition, through longing. It urges you to remember what society has trained you to forget. Your very being is the source of transformation. You are not here to be controlled by the world. You are here to shape it. This book is not a manual for becoming something new. It is an invitation to return to what you already are. The whisper is your guide. Your only task is to listen and respond. Everything you need is already within you. The power is not coming. It has always been here, waiting for your recognition. There is a frequency to life, though most miss it. They live tuned into the static, the noise of external events, obligations, and inherited beliefs. But beneath all of it, there's a signal, a vibration that hums with clarity and purpose. That signal is you, not the surface you defined by names or roles, but the real you, the energy behind your thoughts, the presence behind your eyes. You are not here to merely respond to life. You are here to broadcast it. Imagine a radio. When it's not tuned to a station, all you hear is chaotic fuzz. That's what most people call reality. They bounce from reaction to reaction, hoping the signal will come. But what if you were the station itself? What if reality isn't something that happens and you adapt, but something that responds to the frequency you emit? This principle was quietly discovered by a man named Gerald in 1931, a telegraph operator in a sleepy town whose life was as predictable as the clicks of his machine. One day, after sending the same message he always did, he leaned back and asked himself a radical question. What if the machine was responding to him, not the other way around? That evening, instead of waiting for instructions, he typed a message of gratitude to no one in particular. Within days, something odd began to happen. Unexpected visitors arrived. Lost friends reappeared. Small miracles unfolded like dominoes. Gerald hadn't changed his routine. He had changed his broadcast. When you understand this, you stop chasing outcomes and start embodying frequencies. Want abundance? Don't ask for it. Tune into it. Feel the gratitude now, the sufficiency now. Want love? Don't seek it in others. Become it. Radiate it like the sun radiates heat. The universe is not decoding your words. It's responding to your state. Most live like broken receivers, expecting a clear signal from the static of worry, fear, and doubt. But clarity can never emerge from chaos. To change your reality, you must first change your transmission. The world doesn't hear what you say, it hears what you vibrate. Right now, this moment, you are broadcasting something. Is it lack or fullness, doubt or certainty, resistance or flow? You can't fake frequency. You can only become it. You are the signal. You've always been the signal. The question is, are you aware of what you're transmitting? Because the moment you choose to broadcast consciously, the entire fabric of reality begins to rearrange itself in your favor. Not as reward, but as resonance. The universe can only meet you where you already are, and the moment you tune to your power, everything else tunes to you. In ancient temples hidden deep in desert sands, in the quiet chants of Himalayan monks, and in the silent knowing of indigenous shamans across continents, one truth echoed through time. The source of power is not outside you, it begins within. Long before modern societies built their systems of hierarchy and control, humanity lived in direct relationship with this truth. People turned inward for guidance, listened to dreams, followed intuition, and trusted the voice of the soul. That inner compass was not questioned. It was revered. But over time, that inner authority was traded for the illusion of external validation. Power became something to earn, to seek, to be given by someone else, be it a ruler, a priest, a parent, or a paycheck. The world became structured like a pyramid, the few at the top holding power over the many below, and the great forgetting began. The sacred connection to the self, the true source of wisdom, was buried beneath layers of conditioning. Yet those ancient teachings were never lost. They simply waited, etched in symbols, carried through oral traditions, encoded in scriptures misunderstood by many, but still alive for those with eyes to see. The Tao Te Ching spoke of the power of the uncarved block. The Bhagavad Gita reminded readers that one's highest duty is to live in accordance with the self. Jesus declared the kingdom of heaven is within you. The mystics of every tradition pointed in the same direction, back to you. There's a reason the world resists this idea. A person in touch with their inner authority cannot be controlled. They do not need constant reassurance, permission, or praise. They do not panic when external systems shift. They are rooted. They know. That's what makes inner authority so powerful. It's immovable, untouchable by outer chaos. Consider Amara, a young woman in 1946 who left a life of predictable comfort to follow a dream of healing others through intuitive bodywork. Everyone told her it was irresponsible, unsafe, unreasonable, but something inside her refused to shrink. She trusted it, followed it. Decades later, Amara had transformed an entire community with her practice. She didn't wait for permission. She remembered her authority. You don't need to wait either. That same source lives in you, not as potential, but as a present truth. It's the quiet knowing you've ignored, the hunch you brushed aside, the dream you labeled impossible. Reclaiming your inner authority is not a rebellion. It is a return. It is the act of coming home to your own voice. When you truly understand that your power has never been given, it has only been hidden, you begin to walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, not louder but clearer, not from fear but from presence. And the world, sensing this reclamation, begins to move around you with new respect. Your authority is not something to gain. It is something to allow. It is the original voice within you, waiting not to be discovered, but to be obeyed. There was never a break, only the illusion of one. Like clouds passing before the sun, your disconnection was never real. It only felt that way. The light never left. The signal never stopped broadcasting. You simply forgot how to listen. You were born with an unbroken link to the infinite. It was not earned. It did not need to be taught. It was your birthright. Children remember it easily. Watch how they trust their impulses, how they sing without shame, how they move as if music lives in their bones. That's not confidence, it's connection. It's their natural state before the world convinces them to doubt it. At some point, you were taught otherwise. Perhaps it was a subtle lesson, a punishment for speaking your truth, a frown when you danced too wildly, a rejection that made you question your worth. Maybe it was more overt, religious dogma, institutional programming, generational trauma. In 1,000 different ways, the message was delivered. You are separate from the divine, and you must work to be worthy of it. But what if that message was the lie? Consider the mystics across time, the Sufi poets, the Zen masters, the desert hermits, the women who healed with herbs and were branded witches. They all knew the truth. The divine is not above you nor beside you. It is in you, breathing as you, beating in your chest, whispering through your intuition. The idea that you are broken, flawed, or disconnected serves only those who profit from your forgetting. The moment you accept that you were never disconnected, you become powerful beyond measure. Not because you gained something, but because you stopped giving away what was always yours. Take the story of Elias, a factory worker in 1930s Detroit, who, after a profound dream, began meditating each night after his shift. He felt nothing at first, but slowly changes unfolded. His health improved, relationships softened, unexpected opportunities appeared, not because he begged for them, but because he aligned with them. Through stillness, he reawakened to what had never left. The connection is not fragile. It does not require rituals, crystals, or specific beliefs to exist. Those are tools, not conditions. The truth is simpler. Your breath is sacred. Your attention is the altar. Your awareness is the doorway. Step through. You are not seeking reunion. You are awakening from amnesia. The source is not waiting to return to you. It is waiting for you to notice it was never gone. Every moment of silence, every spark of joy, every surge of gratitude is a reconnection, but only if you recognize it. The truth is, you've never left the garden. You only closed your eyes. Now you are beginning to open them. And when you do, you'll realize the most radical spiritual truth of all. You are not walking toward the light. You are the light remembering its own brilliance. There is a moment, subtle yet seismic, when everything shifts, not outside, not through circumstance, but within. It's not marked by fireworks or applause. Often it happens quietly, like the soft click of a key turning in a lock you didn't know was closed. This moment is sparked by a single thought, not any thought, but a conscious one. The kind of thought that rises not from fear or habit, but from awareness. And when it arrives, your life bends to meet it. One conscious thought can change the entire architecture of your reality, not because the thought itself is magic, but because of what it activates. When you think from presence, from choice, from truth, rather than programming, you shift your point of creation. You no longer move from the past. You begin shaping from the now. Consider the story of Thomas, a telegraph technician in 1928, who lived in perpetual anxiety, believing he was cursed with misfortune. Every delay was personal, every setback a sign of failure. Until one rainy afternoon, as he stared at a blank message pad, he decided to write something different, not to a client, but to himself. I am not unlucky. I am in preparation. That single sentence, simple and declarative, shifted something deep. He didn't just believe differently, he became someone different. From that day on, he began looking for evidence of alignment instead of doom, and naturally, He found it. This is the power of a conscious thought. It creates new neural pathways, initiates new emotional signatures, sends out new frequencies, and reality, ever responsive, reshapes to mirror the new signal. A thought like, "I am enough," is not just a self-help phrase, it's a vibrational command to the universe. When fully embraced, it ends the seeking, the proving, the exhaustion. Life no longer becomes something to survive, but something to sculpt. But not all thoughts carry this power. The mind generates thousands of them daily, most recycled, automatic, unconscious. They do not change you, they only replay you. A conscious thought is different. It is chosen. It emerges from a moment of pause, a decision to see, speak, or feel differently. It is a declaration that you are no longer on autopilot. If your life feels stuck, it's not because change is impossible. It's because the thoughts steering you are old, habitual, programmed. But the instant you interrupt that pattern with a conscious alternative, you've changed the script. You've pivoted the course. Even if the outer world hasn't caught up yet, the coordinates have been altered. And that is enough. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight. You only need to think one true thing and believe it deeply enough that it rearranges your identity. Then live from that new place. Let it inform your choices, your posture, your tone, your action. The shift begins not in effort, but in awareness. One conscious thought. That's all it takes. Because once you think it, you can't unthink it. And once you become it, the world can't help but mirror it back. Desire has been misunderstood. We've been taught to see it as a longing for something we lack, as an ache for what's not here. But true desire, soul-level desire, is not born from emptiness. It is a message, a call, a thread sent from the future version of you who already lives what you long for. Desire isn't random, it's precise. It's a blueprint for your becoming. The moment you feel a pure desire, not the surface cravings shaped by ego, but the quiet pull of something that won't leave you alone, you are witnessing your future self reaching back to guide you. That version of you already exists in the infinite quantum field, already breathing the life you imagine. The desire you feel is simply resonance. You are tuning to their frequency. This is why ignoring your desires never brings peace. They do not go away. They become symptoms, discontent, restlessness, depression. Not because you're failing, but because something in you remembers more. Desire is not suffering. It is the soul speaking in a language older than words. In 1941, a young violinist named Eva performed in a New York cafe for coins and cold glances. Her dream was not fame. It was to play in Vienna's grandest halls, though she'd never seen them. One night, after playing for an empty room, she wept and considered giving up, but a voice inside her whispered, "Keep practicing for the crowd that's already applauding." She followed that whisper. Years later, long after she'd forgotten the struggle, she stood on a Viennese stage, bow in hand, greeted by thunderous ovation. The image she'd once imagined had not been a fantasy. It had been a premonition, a communication across timelines. When you honor your desires, you collapse time. You no longer chase the dream. You merge with the version of yourself who already lives it. And in doing so, the path begins to rise up to meet you. You feel inspired to act, to change, to speak differently, not out of desperation, but out of congruence. It's time to stop asking if your desires are realistic. Ask instead, who would I become if I trusted this longing as guidance? What decisions would I make? What would I allow? When you follow desire like a compass, the terrain adjusts. People show up. Opportunities align, not as a reward, but as a response to your alignment. Desire is not a weakness. It's your navigation system. Each true longing is sacred code, encoded with the energy of who you are meant to become. When you stop suppressing desire and start partnering with it, your life moves out of resistance and into resonance. You don't have to beg for what you want. You just have to become the person who would naturally live it. That's not pretending, it's remembering, because if it called to you, it's already yours. The signal has been sent. Your only job now is to answer. Belief is not a thought. It is not an opinion. It is not even a feeling. Belief is structure. It is architecture. It is the scaffolding that holds the shape of your life together, whether you know it or not. Most people imagine belief as passive, as something quietly residing in the background of their mind. But belief is active. It constructs. It commands. It filters every experience, colors every perception, and dictates every possibility your mind will even entertain. The hidden mechanics of belief operate like gravity, unseen but inescapable. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you believe you are allowed to have, what you believe you deserve, what you believe is even possible. If you believe wealth is rare and hard-earned, the universe shows you scarcity. If you believe love is fleeting or painful, you'll unconsciously sabotage every chance at intimacy. Not because you're broken, but because your belief won't let you see what contradicts it. Consider Edward, a shopkeeper in 1937, who lived by the saying, "People like us don't rise." He meant people from his background, his class, his neighborhood. That belief ran so deep it shaped everything. His prices, his posture, his tone with customers. Then, one winter evening, a traveler passed through town and stopped at his store. The man asked why Edward never expanded, never advertised, never aimed higher. Edward's answer was simple: "Because I can't." The man paused and replied, "What if you can, but you've built a life that only confirms you can't?" That sentence cracked something open. For the first time, Edward questioned the belief that had silently ruled him. Within a year, he doubled his inventory, painted the storefront, and begun hosting town gatherings. Not because the town changed, because his belief did. Belief has a loyalty to itself. It seeks validation. It will bend your vision, hide opportunities, and distort truth just to remain intact. That's why transformation doesn't start with action. It starts with interruption. The moment you interrupt an old belief and introduce a new one, reality shifts. Not instantly, but inevitably. A new belief is like planting a seed. You won't see it sprout in the next hour, but the moment you plant it, the old structure begins to decay. It may feel uncomfortable. That's normal. You're dismantling a house you've lived in for years, but the blueprint was flawed, and now you're building something stronger, truer. You're not at the mercy of what you believe. You are its master. You can choose again. You can ask, "What do I need to believe for this to be possible?" Then live from that place. Speak from it. Walk from it. Because belief isn't just something you hold. It's something that holds you. And once you change what holds you, you change everything you touch. There's a quiet lie that has followed you for years. You've heard it in subtle suggestions and blatant proclamations. You're not ready yet. It's in the voices that say you need more time, more education, more healing, more proof. It's in the hesitation you feel before speaking your truth, before stepping forward, before allowing yourself to receive. But here's the truth beneath the lie. Readiness is a myth. Power is not something you become ready for. It is something you accept. Readiness, as the world defines it, is an endless horizon that moves the closer you get. It convinces you to delay your dreams, to hold back your voice, to wait for the perfect moment. But perfection is a moving target, and the moment never comes. Those who change the world, those who bend reality, those who live fully, they don't wait until they feel ready. They leap. They decide. And in the act of deciding, they become ready. Look at Eleanor, a widowed seamstress in 1944, who dreamed for years of opening a dress shop. Everyone around her told her it was impractical. She had no business experience, no capital, no safety net. But one afternoon, with trembling hands and an unwavering knowing in her chest, she rented a tiny corner stall at the market. She wasn't ready by any standard definition, but she was willing. That decision changed everything. Within months, her talent spread by word of mouth. Her clientele grew, her confidence caught up with her courage, and soon so did her success. You don't need to wait for your fear to go away. You don't need to wait until you have more proof or practice. Power doesn't arrive after the doubt fades. It appears when you choose to stand inside it anyway. That's the paradox. You won't feel fully ready until you've already stepped beyond the line. The idea that you must first become worthy is the oldest illusion of all. Worth is not something to earn. It is something to realize. And once realized, it doesn't ask for permission. It moves, it acts, it claims space. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. The shift happens when you stop asking, "Am I ready?" and start asking, "What am I willing to allow today?" Because willingness is enough. It is the doorway. And once you walk through, the path meets you. Every time you delay your becoming in the name of readiness, you delay the version of you who already exists on the other side of the decision. But that version is not in the future. That version is waiting now. So stop rehearsing, stop preparing, stop postponing your power. You were never supposed to be ready. You were only ever meant to respond. And the time to do that is not someday. It is now. Emotions are not weaknesses to suppress or override. They are the language of your soul, the vibrational signatures of your alignment. They don't lie, even when your mind does. You may convince yourself you're fine, that you've moved on, that you're certain, but your emotions will always tell the deeper truth. They are the compass, the tuning fork, the current of energy and motion, guiding you toward or away from your truest self. The power of emotional integrity begins when you stop judging how you feel and start listening to it. Not all emotions feel good, but all are valuable. Anger tells you a boundary has been crossed. Sadness points to something unhealed. Joy signals alignment. Anxiety is not always a malfunction. It can be a misalignment between what you're doing and who you are. To be emotionally honest is not to wallow in feelings, but to acknowledge them, to give them voice, and most importantly, to allow them to move. Consider Samuel, a traveling salesman in 1932, who spent his days smiling politely and his nights in silent despair. He believed that emotions were indulgences, distractions from the grind, but his suppressed sadness festered. His frustration bled into relationships. One night after missing a train, he sat alone on a bench and finally let it all rise. He wept for the first time in years, not because he was weak, but because he was honest. That moment cracked open something sacred. He began journaling, then speaking, then making changes. Within a year, Samuel left sales and became a counselor for struggling men. His power didn't come from force, it came from feeling. You are not meant to become emotionless. You are meant to become emotionally wise. When you ignore emotions, they become symptoms. But when you allow them to move, they become guidance. That's what emotion is. Energy in motion. Let it move and you'll move with it. Let it stagnate and you'll stagnate too. Emotional integrity isn't about always being joyful. It's about being true. That's when your vibration becomes clean. That's when manifestation accelerates. Not because you're forcing positive thinking, but because you're no longer resisting your reality. Emotional resistance slows everything. Integrity speeds it up. It's how the universe knows you're serious, because you're being honest. The next time you feel something deeply, don't shut it down. Pause. Ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What is it guiding me away from or toward? Sit with it, feel it fully, then let it move. That movement is sacred. That movement is power. Emotional integrity is the foundation of self-trust. Without it, you can't build anything stable. But with it, you become magnetic. People sense your realness. Life responds to your clarity. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be honest. Your emotions will show you the way. Let them. Reality is not a photograph, it is a mirror. It doesn't reflect what you hope for. It doesn't echo what you pretend to be. It reflects what you are, not what you do occasionally, but who you consistently embody. Your inner state, the emotional, mental, and energetic posture you hold day after day, is the blueprint that shapes what appears around you. This is the reality reflector principle. Most people misunderstand. They believe that intentions shape outcomes, that if they think a few positive thoughts, script a few affirmations, and act as if long enough, life will respond. But the universe isn't reacting to your surface-level thinking. It's responding to your dominant vibration. Your core emotional frequency is what broadcasts out, calling back people, events, and circumstances that mirror it exactly. A man named Lewis once worked as a bank clerk in 1947. He believed in visualization, read every self-help book he could find, and wrote affirmations about abundance every morning. But his life remained stagnant. No windfall, no promotions, no breakthrough. Then, one day, a mentor asked him bluntly, "What do you feel when you say those affirmations?" Lewis paused. The answer was clear. He felt desperate, lacking, like a fraud. The words didn't matter. His emotional truth did. From that day on, Lewis stopped focusing on surface thoughts and turned inward. He worked not to repeat phrases, but to become the man who already had what he wanted. He sat in stillness and summoned the feeling of abundance, not as fantasy, but as a fact. His confidence shifted. His posture changed. His energy solidified. Within 3 months, he was promoted. Within a year, he had started his own investment firm, not because of what he said, but because of who he had become. This is the truth few acknowledge. Your outer world is a printout of your inner state, not your intentions, not your willpower, your frequency. Life isn't punishing you, it's reflecting you. If you see chaos, ask where your own energy is scattered. If you see delay, ask where you're hesitating. If you see flow, ask what within you has aligned. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are standing in front of a mirror that cannot lie. The good news? Change your state, and the reflection must follow. It cannot do otherwise. Before you take another action, make another list, or push for another outcome, pause and ask, what state am I in? Because that state is your request. That state is your command. The world listens less to what you do and more to what you are. And when you shift who you are being, consistently, authentically, energetically, reality, like a faithful mirror, begins to shift with you. Not slowly, not eventually, instantly, subtly at first, then obviously. Because the mirror never delays. It only waits for you to change what you bring to it. Everything around you is reactive. Life is not a fixed stage. It is a responsive screen mirroring your emotional and energetic state in real time. The world you walk through bends and reshapes according to your inner weather. Most people try to change their scene by manipulating the external, shifting jobs, relationships, routines. But the secret is far simpler and far more powerful. Shift your state, and the scene must follow. Your state is the vibrational tone of your being. It's not what you do, it's how you feel while doing it. You can say all the right things, act disciplined, follow every method, but if your internal state is rooted in fear, lack, or tension, the results will reflect that, not your effort. It's not the action that creates, it's the state behind the action. In 1949, a man named Alan worked as a ticket taker at a crowded theater in Chicago. Every night he dreaded the shift. Long hours, rude patrons, aching feet. One day he overheard an actor backstage say, "I don't perform for applause. I perform to tune myself to joy." That phrase pierced him. The next evening, Alan decided to run a personal experiment. Before his shift, he paused for 2 minutes. He visualized the best night possible. He took slow breaths. He imagined every face as kind, every moment as light. His posture relaxed. His face softened. Something shifted. That night, the crowd was unusually warm. A regular slipped him a folded note of thanks. His manager praised his energy. Nothing about the theater had changed. He had, and the scene adjusted. Your inner state is like the dial on a radio. Shift the dial and the station changes. Stay on the same frequency and the same song repeats. If you want something new, change the music inside first. So how do you shift your state? The methods are deceptively simple. Your breath is the fastest tool. Inhale deeply and slowly until you feel your body relax. Movement helps too. A short walk, dancing, or even changing your environment resets your internal rhythm. Gratitude is a master key, not forced but felt. Even 3 true acknowledgments can reroute your energy instantly. But more than anything, presence shifts state. When you return to this moment fully, out of the mind, into the senses, you step out of projection and into power. The now is neutral. It is your awareness that gives it meaning. So the next time life feels heavy or blocked, don't fight the scene. Adjust the signal. Drop in. Breathe, feel, choose again. You don't need to control the outer world. You only need to reclaim your inner atmosphere. Because the moment you shift the state, you've changed the entire script. The characters, the timing, the outcomes, they all move in response. You are not stuck. You're just tuned to an old setting. Shift the dial. The next scene is waiting. At the edge of every decision, every experience, every reality, there is a silent power, a tension. Wherever you place your awareness, you activate. It is the great selector, the unseen force that chooses which version of reality emerges from the quantum field. Possibilities are infinite, but attention collapses them into form. This is the observer's edge. In quantum physics, there's a phenomenon called the observer effect. Particles behave differently when they are being watched. It's not metaphor, it's measurable. The act of observing alters the outcome. And if this is true for particles, it is true for your life. Because you are not a passive witness to reality. You are the observer, and the observer creates. Most people scatter their attention like confetti, unaware of its power. They focus on problems, on fears, on worst-case scenarios, and then wonder why those possibilities become actual experiences. The truth is, your focus is not neutral. It is creative. The moment you sustain awareness on something, you give it energy. You pull it closer. Eliza, a school teacher in 1935, learned this in the most unexpected way. Frustrated with her noisy classroom and disengaged students, she used to dread every morning. One day, while reading a book on Eastern philosophy, a line struck her. What you give attention to expands. That morning, she tried something new. Instead of watching for disruption, she focused on the quietest, most engaged student. She praised him. Her attention lingered on what was working, and slowly, the room changed. More students leaned in. The energy softened. The class began reflecting her new focus. She hadn't changed her strategy. She had changed her attention. That shift in observation activated a new version of her reality. You hold this same power. Your thoughts are not idle, they are lenses. Your gaze is not passive, it's directive. Every time you choose what to notice, you influence what solidifies. This is why intention alone is not enough. You can say, I want abundance. But if your attention is fixed on lack, lack becomes the dominant signal. The universe responds not to what you say you want, but to what you consistently notice. To harness the observer's edge, become deliberate. Ask yourself in each moment, what am I giving power to? Is it the fear or the possibility? Is it the lack or the opening? Is it the failure or the lesson? The mind will always offer distractions, but you get to choose what becomes real. You are not a prisoner of circumstance. You are a sculptor of experience. And your chisel is focus. Reality is plastic under the gaze of awareness. The more steady your attention, the more precise the form. This is not wishful thinking. It is energetic law. Attention collapses the wave into the particle, potential into experience. So choose wisely, observe consciously, because what you see is not what is. It is what you've chosen to see, and what you choose to see is what becomes. You are always becoming, not in the distant future, not once you've healed more, learned more, or proven yourself. Right now, you are becoming something. The identity you hold, whether chosen consciously or inherited unconsciously, generates a field around you. This field is magnetic. It does not pull in what you want. It pulls in what you are. The magnetic field of identity is not philosophical. It's vibrational law. Your reality is constantly organizing itself to reflect who you've decided you are. Identity is more than a label. It's a frequency. It's the energetic stance from which you think, speak, choose, and create. If you believe you're someone who struggles, your words, actions, and even posture will unconsciously reinforce that identity, and life will comply. If you believe you're magnetic, worthy, and abundant, your world rearranges to reflect that assumption. Consider Helen, a librarian in 1948, who dreamed of being a novelist. For years, she wrote in secret, sending manuscripts under pseudonyms and accumulating rejections. One morning, she read an interview with a best-selling author who said, "I wrote as if the world was waiting for my words." Something clicked. Helen realized she had been writing as someone hoping to be an author, not someone who already was one. That day, she made a shift. She introduced herself as a writer. She rearranged her routine like a professional. Her energy changed, and so did her results. Within months, one of her earlier rejected manuscripts was picked up by a publisher. Her identity had broadcasted a new frequency, and reality answered. This is the truth. The universe doesn't respond to your desires. It responds to your identity. Not who you wish to be, but who you believe you are. And belief isn't built on logic. It's built on embodiment. You have to become it before you see it. Your identity is the signal. It informs the invisible architecture of your life. Every encounter, every opportunity, every outcome is filtering through the vibration of who you are being. If you don't like what you're receiving, don't chase new results. Upgrade the field. Begin by asking, who am I being? Not in title, but in energy. Am I being confident or cautious? Am I being abundant or afraid? Every day is a declaration. Every choice is a vote for the identity you're anchoring. The shift doesn't require grand gestures. It requires alignment. Speak like the person who already has it. Walk like they walk. Decide like they would. The magnetic field doesn't activate through effort. It activates through being. And the beauty is, identity is yours to choose. You're not waiting to become someone new. You're remembering who you were before the world convinced you to be small. Change your identity, and the world must respond. It's not personal. It's not magic. It's magnetic law. You are not attracting what you want. You are attracting what you are. There is a moment when hoping ends and knowing begins. It doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't require evidence. It rises quietly like a flame that refuses to be extinguished. That moment marks the beginning of creation, because while hope reaches, certainty commands. This is the creative force of knowing. Most people live in a cycle of want and wish. They hope for better days, pray for breakthroughs, visualize outcomes with crossed fingers. But hope is passive. It is useful only when belief is missing. It's a placeholder. It keeps you alive, but it doesn't move reality. Knowing does. Certainty is not arrogance. It's not loud. It's not blind. It's the silent inner yes that doesn't flinch when nothing around it yet agrees. It's standing in the storm and saying, "This shifts because I have decided it will." Certainty is the invisible force that bends the quantum field, not through force, but through congruence. When your inner state aligns perfectly with what you've chosen to receive, there's no need to chase it. it must respond. In 1936, a man named Ellis worked at a shipping yard. His dream was to open a mechanics school for young men. He talked about it often, but never acted. He said he was waiting for the right time. Then one night, he stood alone in the warehouse, surrounded by crates and dust, and something clicked. He whispered aloud, "I'm not going to try anymore. I am that man now." From that moment, he behaved differently. He walked with purpose. He taught his coworkers on lunch breaks. He spoke about the school as if it already existed. Within 2 years, it did. He didn't hope his way into a new life. He knew his way into it. So how do you build this kind of knowing? First, decide. Not with shaky resolve, but with full-body truth. Certainty begins with a decision, one that needs no approval and carries no backup plan. Then embody it. Speak from it. Move from it. Create rituals that ground it. You're not pretending, you're aligning. Doubt may still knock, but you don't have to answer. Certainty isn't the absence of fear, it's the refusal to give fear the microphone. Every time you declare, "I already am," instead of "I hope to be," you shift timelines. You collapse waiting. You signal to life, "Match me now." There's no formula to this, no step-by-step, only a shift, a deep-rooted claim of truth that reshapes everything around it. So stop trying to believe, start choosing to know, because knowing doesn't ask when or how. Knowing simply is. And the universe always responds to what is. There is a subtle but powerful difference between requesting and commanding. Most people speak to the universe as if it's a distant authority, one that might respond if they're good enough, spiritual enough, or patient enough. They pray from need, affirm from desperation, and visualize with the energy of lack. But the universe doesn't respond to begging, it responds to being, and that means learning to stop requesting and start instructing. A request implies doubt. It says, "I hope this is possible. I hope you hear me." A command, on the other hand, is anchored in knowing. It's not about arrogance, it's about alignment. When you instruct reality from a place of truth and inner congruence, you aren't demanding, you are directing. You are issuing a vibrational blueprint, a frequency broadcast that life must mirror. In 1943, a seamstress named Florence worked in a small textile shop. Each night she wrote in her notebook, "Please let me escape this life. Please give me something better." Weeks turned to months. Nothing shifted. One day, weary from wishing, she wrote a new sentence. "This chapter is complete. I now create with power." That day, everything changed. She began to speak differently, walk with clarity, envision new work, and introduce herself as a designer, not a seamstress. Within 6 months, she had opened her own dress studio, not because she begged harder, but because she declared her path. The truth is, you are the signal. Your word is law when it's backed by belief. When you issue instructions to the universe from your identity, not your insecurity, life must respond. Why? Because it's not judging your tone, it's echoing your frequency. To begin commanding, you must first trust your authority. That means letting go of the idea that life happens to you. You are not a recipient. You are a participant in the architecture of reality. Every thought, every declaration, every silent assumption is a directive. Your job is to stop sending mixed signals. Instead of saying, "I wish I could," say, "I am." Instead of pleading, "Please let this happen," say, "This is already unfolding." Begin speaking as the version of you who does not hope, but knows. This shift is not about volume or confidence. It's about coherence. The clearer and more consistent your internal broadcast, the faster the reflection appears. Command from your center. From your quiet, immovable core, that's where real power lives. And when you speak from there, life doesn't just listen, it obeys. Not out of submission, but out of resonance. You are not here to try, you are here to assume. This is the great secret woven through every ancient teaching and modern miracle. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you assume to be real. Assumption is not pretending, it's not hoping, it's not visualizing and then checking if it worked. Assumption is the quiet inner knowing that what you have claimed is already true, and living from that truth now. Most people try to change their lives by chasing outcomes, performing rituals, or proving their worth. But chasing is always rooted in separation. It says, it's not here yet. Assumption says, it's already done. This subtle shift changes everything. Because when you assume, you no longer look for evidence. You become the evidence. You walk, talk, and breathe from the reality you've chosen, and the outer world simply rearranges to match it. In 1939, a young piano teacher named Ada longed to tour Europe as a concert pianist. But her schedule, her finances, and her reputation all told her it wasn't possible. Still, every morning she dressed as if she had a rehearsal on a grand stage. She practiced in the evenings like she had a full house waiting. She wrote letters of acceptance to herself. From venues she imagined playing, she didn't just dream, she assumed. And over time, small shifts began to appear. A student introduced her to a patron. A local paper requested an interview. Invitations started arriving. Within 2 years, Ada was performing in London. What changed? Not the world. She changed her place within it. This is the law of assumption in action. When you live from the end, when you think, feel, and move as if the outcome is already yours, you call forth the conditions that validate it. Life doesn't need convincing. It needs clarity, and nothing is clearer than a being who assumes their truth and acts from it without apology. So ask yourself, what would I do today if I knew it was already done? How would I speak? What would I stop waiting for? What would I allow? And then do that. Speak from that version. Move from that energy. Make decisions from that state. Not to convince the universe, but to align with the version of you that already exists in the now. You're not faking. You're remembering. You're collapsing timelines. You're choosing to inhabit the version of reality where your desire is already fact, and letting the outer scene catch up. You don't need to build bridges to your dream. You are the bridge. Assumption is not a tool, it's a way of being. And once you step into it fully, the world doesn't resist. It reflects. Instantly, inevitably, absolutely. Because when you live from the end begins living through you. There is a fundamental misunderstanding woven into the way most people approach their dreams. They believe they must chase what they want. Work harder, run faster, hustle more, but chasing creates distance. It declares what I want is over there, and I am here, lacking it. The more you chase, the more you affirm its absence. But choosing is different. Choosing closes the gap. Choosing says, this is mine now, and when you choose an outcome fully, you summon the version of reality where it is already true. Most people don't choose. They hope. They try. They make backup plans. But the universe doesn't respond to indecision. It responds to clarity. A clear choice sends a broadcast, an energetic command that life cannot ignore. The choice is not in your words. It's in your state. It's in the way your body carries that decision like a settled truth, not a hopeful request. In 1942, a baker named Franklin had a dream of opening his own shop, but inflation, family obligations, and fear kept him stuck working for someone else. Every night he'd journal about the day he hoped to make it happen. Then one morning something shifted. He didn't win the lottery. He didn't receive a sign. He simply got tired of waiting. He walked to the corner of his street, looked at a vacant building, and said aloud, I choose this, not one day, now. That day he began cleaning the space. No loan yet, no plan, just choice. Within weeks, everything he needed arrived. Help, funding, support. The doors opened 3 months later. What made the difference? He stopped chasing a dream and chose a reality. That choice pulled everything toward him like gravity. You don't need to chase your desire. You need to claim it. Choosing is an act of spiritual authority. It says, I no longer treat this as optional. I align with it now. I decide it is so. And then from that place you act, not to get, but to express who you've already become. This is how miracles unfold, not through striving, but through selection. Life is not withholding from you. It's waiting for you to make a clear decision about who you are. So stop reaching. Stop waiting for the right moment. Stop trying to convince the universe. Decide. Choose the life you want. Choose the version of you that lives it. Choose it like a king issues a decree, not with noise, but with finality. And watch how quickly the world bends to meet your choice. Everything in creation holds a vibration. Every outcome, every experience, every version of you that already exists in the quantum field, it all vibrates at a unique frequency. You don't need to earn your desires or chase them down. You simply need to match their signal. Aligning with outcome energy means stepping into the emotional and energetic state of the version of you who already lives the reality you desire, and doing it now, not later. Most people operate backward. They think, once I get the thing, then I'll feel the feeling. Once I have the relationship, I'll feel loved. Once I have the money, I'll feel secure. Once I have the success, I'll feel worthy. But energy doesn't work that way. The outer always reflects the inner. You don't wait for the feeling, you generate it. You tune yourself to the energy of the outcome now, and the outcome is drawn to you like a signal finding its frequency. Think of it like tuning a radio. The song is already playing. It exists. But until you adjust the dial, you won't hear it. The station doesn't come to you. You move to meet it. In 1935, a jazz musician named Marcus spent years trying to get discovered. He played in smoky bars, sent letters to agents, and lived in constant frustration. One night, exhausted, he put down his trumpet and asked himself, what would it feel like to already be living the life I'm chasing? That question changed him. He imagined walking into a packed venue, feeling confident, respected, in flow. He breathed that in, held it, and played a new set from that energy. The room responded differently. People leaned in. A talent scout noticed. That moment became the catalyst for his career, not because of a lucky break, but because he had shifted his frequency. To align with outcome energy, you must first identify how the version of you who already has your desire feels. Is it freedom, confidence, joy, peace? Then you generate that emotion on purpose. You carry it through your actions, your thoughts, your choices. Not for show, but as a declaration. This is who I am now. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is be it until you see it. You are not waiting for life to confirm your worth. You are confirming your worth by aligning with the vibration of your chosen outcome. When you do this, life has no choice but to reflect it, because the universe cannot give you what you're not resonating with. It is law. So breathe into the version of you who already lives the life you desire. Feel what they feel. Think how they think. Move how they move. Let that energy lead. Because the outcome isn't coming. It's already here, vibrating in the field, waiting for you to join it. All you have to do is align. Reality is not instant feedback. It's an echo. When you shift your thoughts, emotions, and identity, the world doesn't immediately rush to reflect your new state. Instead, it listens, calibrates, and echoes back what you've consistently put out. Most people miss this. They assume that if nothing changes right away, their new belief isn't working. But this misunderstanding is why they return to old patterns. The echo hadn't yet arrived, and they mistook the silence for failure. But silence is never failure. It's the space where the new is forming. Think of shouting into a canyon. You call out, but for a moment there's only stillness. Then slowly your voice returns, not immediately, but inevitably. That is how reality works. You declare, I am worthy. And for a while, the world may still reflect the echoes of I am not enough. But stay in your new vibration, and eventually the echo changes. The world begins to respond to who you are now, not who you were. In 1940, A woman named Bernice began affirming her value daily. After years of working as a maid, she began declaring herself a healer. She studied herbs, offered remedies, and spoke to herself with newfound respect. For months, nothing changed. Her job, her pay, her routine all looked the same. But she stayed with the new signal, and slowly, people began to ask her for advice. Her remedies started working. A local doctor invited her to consult. Within a year, she had left cleaning behind and was known as a community healer, not because she waited for permission, but because she sustained her new frequency long enough for the echo to change. Reality is always catching up to your consciousness. It reflects your dominant state, not your fleeting hopes, not your one-day affirmation, but the identity you consistently hold. When you understand this, you stop obsessing over evidence. You stop demanding signs. You trust the delay as part of the design. Most people quit too soon. They sow new seeds, and when nothing sprouts by morning, they dig them up and call it proof. But creation is rhythmic, not instant. It's cause and effect with a buffer. The buffer is not punishment. It's a blessing. It allows you to refine your signal before reality solidifies. So when nothing seems to be happening, ask, what am I echoing? What identity am I sustaining? What would happen if I held this new state for another day, another week, another month? Hold it. Because when the echo returns, and it always does, it won't bring what you briefly wanted. It will bring what you fully became. Time doesn't move forward. That's the illusion. We've been taught to imagine time as a line, past behind us, present beneath us, future ahead. But time is not a road, it's a sphere, a living, vibrating field of infinite now moments, all existing at once. Every version of your life, every outcome, every possibility is already real, already there. Your job is not to create it, but to select it. This understanding shifts everything. You are not moving toward your future. You are choosing which version of the future you step into by the vibration you hold in the present. Every thought, feeling, and decision aligns you with a timeline. And once you align, that timeline begins to unfold, sometimes subtly, sometimes suddenly, but always in accordance with what you've chosen. In 1933, a mechanic named Victor dreamed of being an inventor. He sketched ideas, tinkered at night, and read every patent he could find. Yet each morning he returned to the garage, greasy hands and silent frustration. One evening, after reading about parallel realities, he made a decision. He stopped trying to become an inventor and started being one. He woke early to write ideas. He introduced himself as a designer. He carried the energy of someone already contributing innovation to the world. Within 6 months, one of his designs was picked up by a manufacturer. Victor hadn't changed time. He had selected a different version of it. All timelines exist. The one where you stay stuck, the one where you thrive, the one where you heal, the one where you create. None are more real than others. They're just vibrating at different frequencies. Like radio stations, they're always broadcasting. You only hear the one you tune into. To access a new timeline, you must match its frequency now. You must walk, talk, and think like the version of you who lives there. That doesn't mean faking it. It means remembering it, feeling it, letting it become more real in your nervous system than the current set of circumstances. This is how time travel works, not by machines, but by consciousness. So when you catch yourself saying, "One day I'll get there," pause. You are already there on the timeline where that future exists. But are you tuned to it? Are you matching the energy of that life? Or are you stuck in the emotional residue of an outdated self? Step into the new reality now. Claim the timeline. Act from it. Breathe from it. Decide from it. Reality isn't linear, it's layered, and it responds instantly to the choices you make in vibration. You don't need more time, you need more alignment. The timeline is not coming to find you. It's already available. All you have to do is choose. You don't change your life by fixing the past or waiting for the future. You change it by shifting who you are being right now. Every version of you already exists in the field. The struggling self, the thriving self, the healed, the abundant, the radiant self. And when you fully step into the identity of that future version, you jump timelines. This isn't imagination, it's identity alignment. The fastest way to change your reality is to embody the version of you who already lives the life you want. Future self-embodiment is not about pretending, it's about becoming. It's about asking, how would the version of me who already has the relationship, the career, the peace, the impact, how would they think, speak, move, and decide? And then doing that now, not as performance, but as a new point of origin. In 1946, a woman named Lillian worked as a hotel maid but dreamed of becoming a writer. She believed it was impossible until she read a story about an author who had started from nothing. That night, Lillian asked herself, what would the successful version of me do differently tomorrow morning? Her answer came quickly. She'd wake early to write, she'd carry a notebook, she'd introduce herself as a writer, not a maid. Lillian made the shift. Slowly, her energy changed. Opportunities began to meet her. An editor guest staying at the hotel noticed her writing. Within 2 years, Lillian had her first published collection. She didn't wait to become a writer. She chose to be her future self, and the world followed. Identity is the selector of timelines. When you step into a new identity, you collapse the distance between now and the reality that matches it. You no longer ask for transformation. You become the transformation. Begin each day by tuning into your future self, not as a fantasy, but as a guide. What is their morning routine? How do they respond to challenges? What energy do they carry into rooms? Let those answers inform your choices. Let them anchor your behavior. This isn't delusion, it's alignment. You're not making something up. You're remembering what's already encoded within you. Future self-embodiment is not about becoming someone new. It's about shedding the version of you that forgot who you are. Reality shifts in response to identity. Not eventually. Instantly. The moment you become it, the world mirrors it. So stop waiting for permission to live the life you know is yours. Jump realities by becoming the one who already has it. Because that version of you, they're already waiting. And they're only one decision away. Memory is not fixed. The past is not set in stone. Though we've been taught to see our history as unchangeable, the truth is far more fluid and far more empowering. Your perception of the past shapes your emotional present. And since your present vibration creates your future, the way you interpret what was directly impacts what will be. You don't need to rewrite what happened. You need to rewrite what it meant. We don't experience life as it is. We experience it through the story we tell about it. And stories can change. In 1931, a man named Henry believed he was cursed. After losing his family's farm in a drought, he carried a deep wound. I'm destined for failure. Every job loss, every setback reinforced that belief. Until one night, while listening to an old radio program about resilience, something clicked. He asked himself, what if the farm wasn't a punishment, but preparation? That one reframe began to unravel years of shame. He started to view his past through a new lens, strength, not defeat. And as his perception shifted, so did his reality. Opportunities emerged, relationships healed, his energy lightened, nothing in the past changed, only the way he held it. The emotional weight you carry from the past is not from the event itself, but from the meaning you gave it. And you can choose a new meaning right now, not to deny what happened, but to free yourself from the version of it that keeps you stuck. This is the power of conscious revision. You go back, not to relive, but to re-see, to stand in the memory, now wiser, now whole, and say, I choose to see this differently. Maybe what felt like abandonment taught you independence. Maybe what looked like rejection redirected you to alignment. Maybe what broke you built you. Perception is power, and when you change how you see your past, you shift the emotional patterns you carry. Your nervous system relaxes, your mind softens, your energy recalibrates, and your future begins to respond differently. This isn't denial, this is freedom. You can honor your pain and still liberate yourself from its grip. Try it. Choose a memory that still stings. Sit with it. Then ask, what new meaning am I ready to give this? Allow a new story to form, not a fantasy, but a fuller truth. Let your higher self speak through the pain, because the past is not a prison, it's a canvas, and you are the artist. Rewriting it doesn't erase the experience, it reclaims your power over it. And from that new perception, a new future begins, instantly, authentically, unapologetically. Time, as most understand it, is a waiting game, a delay, a stretch between desire and fulfillment. But in truth, time is not your enemy, it's your mirror, and you don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to stretch things out with endless effort. You can collapse time by eliminating the one thing that slows manifestation more than anything else: inner contradiction. Inner contradiction is when your thoughts say yes, but your emotions say no. It's when you visualize abundance but feel fear, when you affirm love but carry unworthiness, when your mouth says I trust, but your body tightens with doubt. The universe doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your coherence. And when you're internally split, time stretches. Manifestation stalls, not because your desire is too big, but because your signal is too mixed. In 1944, a young artist named Elsie painted every day, hoping for recognition. She spoke of success, shared her dreams, but beneath her enthusiasm was a silent belief: people like me never make it. That contradiction diluted her frequency. It wasn't until a friend asked her, "Do you believe your art deserves to be seen?" that she paused. The truth was uncomfortable but liberating. She realized her energy had been canceling her efforts, so she did the real work, not painting more but cleaning up her inner signal. She sat with her doubt. She released the lie. She replaced it with truth. My voice matters. Within a year, her work was featured in a gallery. Time collapsed not because she worked harder, but because she became clear. Clarity accelerates reality. When every part of you agrees, thought, emotion, body, belief, manifestation happens fast. It doesn't crawl, it arrives. Because now, there's no resistance, no confusion in the signal. You become a tuning fork for what you desire. To collapse time, ask yourself, is there any part of me that doubts this outcome? That questions if I'm ready, worthy, or capable? Then meet that part, not to shame it, but to unify it. Bring all aspects of you into agreement. Choose a single, unwavering signal. This is not about perfection, it's about alignment. When you stop contradicting your own power, you stop slowing down your own path. You don't have to kill time with effort. You can collapse it with truth. The moment you become internally unified, time bends in your favor, and what once felt far away starts moving toward you with unnatural speed. There is a version of you who already lives your highest vision, not in fantasy, but in the quantum field, fully formed, fully expressed. That version of you is not waiting for someday. They exist now, in a parallel current of time, already living what you long to experience. And the most powerful thing you can do is loop that future into the now. Prevision is the sacred act of visiting your future self, not to daydream, but to receive, to feel in full body clarity what it's like to already live the life you've imagined. It is a transmission, a merging, a bridge. And when you step into that space, even for a moment, something changes. Your nervous system begins to rewire, your identity shifts, your energy updates. Most people view the future as distance, something to earn, something that arrives after time, struggle, or chance. But the truth is, the future is a frequency. And when you align with it now, you pull it towards you. You don't wait for it. You call it in. In 1938, a woman named Dottie dreamed of opening a bookstore, though she had no money, no business experience, and no idea how to begin. One morning, she closed her eyes and asked, "What does the version of me who owns that store feel like?" She saw herself unlocking the door, greeting customers, arranging shelves. She felt the pride, the ease, the certainty. That feeling stayed with her. Every day after, she took small actions, not from hope, but from alignment. 3 months later, a relative offered her unused space to start her dream. It unfolded not by force, but by frequency. You must understand, your future self is not a fantasy. They are an ally, a guide, a part of you already formed in the unseen, ready to be embodied. When you visit them regularly, you begin to match their energy. You start making their decisions. You speak with their tone. You attract their opportunities, not because you're pretending, but because you're syncing. To loop the future into now, close your eyes and step into the timeline where everything you desire is already true. Ask, what do I feel here? How do I move here? Who am I here? And then bring that energy into your day. Let it inform your walk, your words, your choices. Anchor it into the present. This isn't just visualization. It's reprogramming. It's reality shaping. You're not just imagining the future. You're embodying it. And as you do, the boundaries between now and later begin to blur. The future isn't far away. It's already real, already waiting. You just have to live from it. And when you do, it loops back through synchronicity, through guidance, through doors you didn't even know existed. The future is not coming. It's arriving through you right now. You've been taught to plan, to chart every step, anticipate every outcome, prepare for all variables. But planning, while useful, can become a trap. It can keep you locked in your mind, trying to control life instead of allowing it. Manifestation doesn't require a 5-year strategy. It requires a receptive state. When you shift from forcing the future to allowing it, you enter the space where miracles happen, not because you made them, but because you met them. Letting the future find you is not passive. It's powerful. It means you've done the internal work. You've become the version of you that's ready to receive. And now life responds, not because you chased the opportunity, but because the opportunity recognized you. In 1947, a man named Glenn had a dream of becoming a public speaker. He had no training, no connections, no clear path, but he made a decision. Every morning he would dress in a suit, stand before his mirror, and speak as if he were on stage. He imagined applause, clarity, confidence. He didn't know how it would happen, but he didn't need to. A month later, a neighbor who'd overheard him practicing invited him to speak at a town hall. One speech led to another. Within a year, Glenn was speaking across the state. He hadn't mapped it. He had met it because he was ready. This is the secret. When you become the person who already has what you desire, life arranges itself accordingly. The future doesn't need to be hunted down. It needs to be matched. Planning can be comforting, but it often stems from fear. Fear that if you don't control the path, it won't appear. But control is a frequency of doubt. Receptivity is a frequency of trust. You don't need every step laid out. You need to hold a clear intention and let readiness become your magnet. Ask yourself, if my future self knocked on my door today, would I be ready to receive what they bring? Not just emotionally, but energetically, physically, practically. If not, become ready. Prepare not by predicting, but by aligning. Clean your space, clarify your desire, tune your energy. Letting the future find you means trusting that when you're aligned, the next step will appear. You don't make it happen. You meet it halfway. So stop obsessing over the how. Stop rewriting the plan. Start embodying the frequency of fulfillment. The future doesn't need a map. It needs a match. And the moment you become that match, it knows exactly where to find you. Before the dream arrives, the signal comes first. Always. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And what you are is not defined by your appearance or your actions, but by your vibration. This is the first law of all creation. Frequency comes before form. Nothing enters your life until your energy welcomes it. You are a broadcaster. Every thought, every feeling, every belief is a signal emitted into the field. That signal doesn't lie. It tells the truth of your inner state, and the universe doesn't respond to your wishes. It responds to your tuning. In 1932, a radio technician named Morris noticed that a tiny misalignment in frequency caused total static. The broadcast was still there, clear, consistent, but unless the receiver matched it precisely, it could not be heard. One evening, while working late, he wrote in his journal, "I wonder if life works the same way." That question stayed with him. Over time, he began to live differently. He stopped focusing on what he wanted and started focusing on how he felt. He realized that when he tuned into gratitude, clarity, and joy, his external world shifted. New clients, new friends, unexpected breakthroughs. The broadcast hadn't changed. He had. This is the principle. You don't force the result. You align with the reality where that result already exists. Everything you want already lives at a specific frequency. Wealth, love, health, creativity, peace. The question is, are you matching it? You can't fake frequency. You can say the right affirmations, create the perfect vision board, act the part. But if your vibration contradicts your words, the universe listens to your vibration. Frequency is not surface level. It's your dominant emotional state, the one you return to again and again. Want faster manifestations? Stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What must I tune into?" Before you take the step, before you send the email, before you reach out, check your frequency. Because if you're vibrating scarcity, even a brilliant idea will fall flat. If you're vibrating worthiness, even a whisper becomes magnetic. The shift is simple, but it's sacred. Choose your frequency before you choose your action. Set your vibration first. Align internally, then let the external unfold. The most potent creators are not always the busiest. They're the clearest. Their frequency leads the way, and life follows. You don't need to chase outcomes. You need to tune to the version of reality where those outcomes are already natural. Because the moment your frequency changes, your reality has no choice but to follow. Not as a reward, as a reflection. Every desire you hold, every outcome you seek, already exists on a specific energetic frequency. But if you find yourself unable to receive it, if the opportunities feel blocked, if the shift never seems to land, it's not because you're broken or unworthy. It's because something inside you is still anchored to an old pattern. These are not flaws. They are energetic anchors, residues from past beliefs, old emotions, inherited narratives that keep you tuned to outdated versions of yourself. Energetic anchors are subtle but powerful. They show up as recurring thoughts like, "I'm not ready," or "It never works out for me." They live in your body, tight shoulders, clenched jaws, the instinct to shrink when good things approach. They appear in your habits, your self-sabotage, the things you say just happen again and again. But they don't just happen. They're replaying, because the anchor is still there, holding you in place. In 1941, a young tailor named Robert had dreams of opening his own design studio. He saved money, built connections, even found a space to rent. But every time he came close to taking the leap, something got in the way. Illness, family drama, missed opportunities. One day, in a quiet moment, he traced the pattern back to his father's words. "Success makes you selfish." That belief had rooted in him like a stone, and every time he tried to rise, the anchor of guilt pulled him back. But when he saw it, truly saw it, he did the one thing that releases all anchors. He forgave it. He released the story, and within weeks, he moved forward. You cannot rise while dragging what was never yours to carry. And often, the most powerful shift is not addition, it's subtraction. Removing the static, dissolving the tether, letting go of the weight. To identify your energetic anchors, pay attention to what feels heavy, what patterns keep repeating, what beliefs don't feel true but still feel familiar. Ask yourself, what am I still holding that no longer belongs to me? Then bring it to the surface. Name it, breathe with it, and choose to let it go. Sometimes this means speaking it aloud. Sometimes it means crying it out. Sometimes it means rewriting the story entirely. Release is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's simply a decision. I no longer need this to be true. And the moment that choice is made, the anchor begins to lift. When you dissolve the old, you free up space for the new. You rise not by force, but by lightness. The version of you who lives your highest timeline has no anchors, only clarity, only truth. And the moment you match their freedom, you match their reality. Your life is a reflection of your emotional frequency, not occasionally, constantly. The world mirrors your dominant state back to you in the form of people, opportunities, delays, breakthroughs. And while you cannot control every event, you can tune your signal. You can shift your vibration on purpose. You can rise above default mode and step into alignment by choice. Tuning your signal is not about being happy all the time. It's about becoming conscious of your energetic baseline and learning how to raise it with intention. This isn't wishful thinking. It's vibrational leadership. It's choosing how you want to feel and then generating that feeling from within before the outside gives you a reason. The most aligned people don't wait for good news to feel good. They understand that feeling good is what brings the good news. It's a reversal of the model we're taught. In 1935, a piano teacher named Grace struggled with chronic disappointment. Each day she woke with dread, waiting for something to lift her spirits. But after reading a book on emotional resonance, she began experimenting. Each morning, before touching the keys or speaking a word, she sat quietly and tuned into one word: gratitude. She would find one real, present thing to feel thankful for: a breeze through the window, a warm cup of tea, a memory of laughter. That daily practice shifted her tone, and soon her students became more engaged, her relationships more fluid, and her schedule unexpectedly filled. The external world didn't change first. She did. You can do this too. Begin your day not by reaching for your phone, but by reaching for your frequency. Ask, how do I want to feel today? Then choose a word: peace, clarity, joy, abundance, and create a short moment to feel it. Breathe it in. Let it settle. Movement also tunes the signal. A walk, dancing, stretching, these are not just physical, they're energetic adjustments. You shake off the old and open yourself to the new. Sound is another tool. Music that aligns with your desired feeling. Words spoken with intent. Even silence can reset the noise inside. Most importantly, notice your frequency throughout the day. When you slip into old states, resentment, lack, stress, pause. Don't judge, just retune. One deep breath, one honest question: is this the signal I want to send? You are not at the mercy of circumstance. You are a living transmitter, and each moment is a chance to choose your tone. When you tune your signal with love, trust, and presence, the universe doesn't just notice, it responds, not because you asked, but because you matched. Letting go is often misunderstood. It's not giving up. It's not defeat. It's not walking away from your desire. It's releasing your grip on how it must come, when it must arrive, and what it must look like. Joyful detachment is the art of holding your vision with lightness. It is faith in motion. It is certainty without obsession. It is knowing what's yours can't miss you and relaxing into that knowing so deeply that your entire being becomes magnetic. Most people try to manifest from tension. They want something so badly that their energy becomes tight, anxious, conditional. They visualize while checking the clock. They affirm but peek over their shoulder to see if it worked. That kind of grip repels. The universe does not respond to pressure. It responds to ease. Detachment doesn't mean you care less. It means you trust more. You've made your choice, aligned your frequency, and now you let life do its part. In 1940, a shopkeeper named Ellen had a dream of selling handmade jewelry. She worked hard, promoted endlessly, and watched as nothing moved. One day, exhausted, she paused. She whispered, "I surrender, not because I'm giving up, but because I know this isn't mine to chase anymore." That shift was subtle but total. She continued making jewelry, not to force sales, but because she loved it. Within 2 weeks, a tourist stumbled into her store, bought several pieces, and connected her to a distributor. Ellen didn't force the outcome. She welcomed it. Joyful detachment is not about passive waiting. It's about active receiving. It's waking up and living as if the outcome is already underway, without needing to see it today. It's dancing through the uncertainty with a smile that says, "I trust this is working." That energy is irresistible. It draws in what force cannot. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting the desire. It means releasing the resistance. It means staying open to surprises, to better than expected outcomes, to divine timing that sees what you can't. Ask yourself, can I hold the vision and release the grip? Can I want without needing? Can I trust that what I've called in is already on its way? When you can answer yes, you're in the sweet spot. That's where miracles happen. Not because you begged, but because you believed. Let go. Let joy rise. Let life meet you with ease. Because what you stop chasing starts arriving. Abundance is not something you wait for. It's something you practice. Long before the money shows up, before the opportunity, before the recognition, there is a state you can enter where you are already full. This is overflow mode. It's a frequency where you give, create, and move from a place of already having. And when you live from overflow, the physical world rushes to catch up. Overflow is not about pretending everything's perfect. It's not about faking positivity. It's about tuning into the deeper truth that lack is an illusion, that life by design is abundant, that you are connected to a source that never runs dry. When you remember this, you stop reaching. You start radiating. In 1938, a man named Jonah lived paycheck to paycheck, but had a deep desire to start a community garden. People laughed. "You can barely feed yourself," they said. But Jonah had tapped into something they hadn't, an inner well. He began planting anyway, shared what little he had, invited neighbors to join. Within a year, the garden fed half the block. Donations arrived, land was offered. Jonah didn't wait for abundance to give. He gave and became abundant. The outer followed the inner. Overflow mode is powerful because it declares, "I am already whole. I am already provided for. I don't give or create to get. I do it because I can." That frequency attracts opportunities that match it. That vibration draws in people, ideas, and resources that reflect the same fullness. To step into overflow, begin where you are. Notice what you already have. Celebrate it, use it, share it. Shift from asking what's missing to what's here. Then ask, how can I move with this in a way that expands me and others? Your energy becomes a current. Your presence becomes permission for others to feel full, too. You stop waiting for proof. You become the proof. Abundance begins before the bank account reflects it. Confidence begins before the accolades. Love begins before someone says it back. You initiate the state, and reality responds in kind. Start living like someone who already has what they want. Make decisions from that identity. Speak from it. Act from it. Overflow doesn't mean extravagance. It means alignment. Generosity of spirit. Trust in your own well. When you give from overflow, not depletion, the universe says yes, not as reward, as resonance. Don't wait for permission to feel full. overflow now and let the world rise to match. There is a place inside you where everything quiets, where the noise of thoughts, the pull of emotion, the urgency of plans and projections fades. This place is not emptiness. It's pure presence. It's where your soul lives. It's where the signal of your desires becomes clearest. Inner silence is not passive. It's profoundly powerful. It's the space where intention sharpens and magnetism strengthens. Because when you are still, your energy speaks louder than words ever could. Most people think they need to do more, say more, effort more to manifest what they want. But the truth is, manifestation is an energetic process, not a verbal one. What you project in stillness, pure, uncluttered, coherent, has far more creative power than hours of forced affirmations. Inner silence is the place where doubt dissolves, where clarity crystallizes, where your frequency becomes unmistakable. In 1943, a composer named Margaret found herself stuck. Inspiration was gone. Her creativity, once fluid, felt strangled by pressure. One morning, instead of forcing another draft, she did something different. She sat in her studio, eyes closed, hands resting, breath soft. For 20 minutes, she listened, not for answers, but for herself. And in that silence, she didn't find music. She found space. That space became melody. That melody became her most celebrated piece. Silence is not the absence of activity. It's the presence of alignment. It allows your true intention to rise without noise, distortion, or contradiction. It gives your soul room to speak clearly. Inner silence is also magnetic. When you hold your desire in stillness, without gripping, without doubting, you become a clear broadcast. You don't need to convince anyone. You don't need to hustle for the result. The universe hears you through your clarity, not your volume. Take time each day, even just a few minutes, to return to stillness. Close your eyes. Drop the story. Drop the timeline. Feel the desire not as a reaching, but as a gentle presence within you. Hold it there. Let it settle into your being. This is where real alignment happens, in the silence between thoughts, in the breath between actions. Stillness is not a delay, it's a signal. It tells the universe, I am ready, I am clear, I already hold it. And the world listens to that still, sacred yes. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. This is the great reversal that turns seekers into creators. The truth is not that your environment shapes your life. It's that your consciousness shapes your environment. You are not just part of the field. You are the field. The quantum space that holds all potentials doesn't exist outside you. It moves through you. It responds to you. Most people live as though they're reacting to life, adjusting to circumstances, adapting to external conditions. But the moment you realize your awareness is the canvas on which reality paints, everything shifts. You stop being at the mercy of what is and begin activating what could be. You begin sculpting the invisible into form. In 1936, a woman named Evelyn ran a boarding house where everything seemed to go wrong. Leaky pipes, unreliable tenants, constant financial stress. One day, she read about quantum theory and how the observer influences the observed. That night, she sat on her porch and asked, what if the house is mirroring me? She began shifting not the walls, but herself. She started holding the energy of peace, order, and prosperity. Within weeks, her circumstances shifted. New tenants arrived, things began to work, and offers of help appeared unprompted. The house had not changed first. Her field had. Everything around you is information responding to your internal broadcast. People feel your field. Opportunities align with your field. Circumstances organize around your field. You don't have to chase outcomes when you realize you generate the environment you live in. So how do you shift the field? You begin by owning your frequency. What are you broadcasting? Is it doubt or certainty? Chaos or clarity? fear, or faith. The field doesn't respond to what you say you want. It reflects what you consistently hold. To become a master of the field, you must first become a master of your state. That doesn't mean controlling everything. It means becoming aware of what you're radiating. It means choosing your energy on purpose. You walk into a room and the room shifts because you've decided who you are before you entered it. Your consciousness is not trapped inside your skull. It's expansive. It fills every space you occupy. When you stand in your power, the field reorganizes. It clears paths. It amplifies intentions. It creates connections. You are not waiting for life to align with you. Life is waiting for you to align with yourself. When you do, reality adjusts. Not slowly, but instantly. Because the field is not something you're trying to influence. It's something you already are. And the moment you own that, your environment will mirror the truth. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered. Thought is not just a flicker of the mind. It is architecture. It is blueprint. Every sustained thought you hold is a structure, an invisible framework that reality builds upon. Most people treat thoughts like passing clouds, but the truth is, repeated thoughts don't just pass. They root. They form energetic scaffolding around which matter and experience begin to arrange themselves. This is the quiet power of thought. It builds before you ever see the outcome. You don't need to think obsessively or with intensity for something to manifest. You need to think intentionally, with clarity, consistency, and emotional alignment. A scattered mind builds unstable foundations. A focused mind creates cathedrals. In 1934, a man named Harold worked as a train conductor, dreaming of owning land. Every morning before his shift, he'd walk a quiet wooded path and think of the home he would one day build, not vaguely, specifically. He imagined the porch, the window light, the sound of wind through the trees. He didn't have money. He had mental structure. He held that image so clearly that it became more real than his current life. 2 years later, the railway gifted him a parcel of land for years of service. It was the very area he had walked daily. His thought had already built it. Each thought is a signal, yes, but it is also a design. When you hold a new thought long enough, paired with belief and feeling, it becomes a framework in the field. Reality then begins to move to fulfill it, like bricks stacking on an unseen drawing. But most people abandon the structure halfway. They entertain new possibilities, but the moment evidence doesn't show up, they tear it down with doubt. Maybe it's not meant for me. And so, the blueprint is erased. Nothing can be built upon it. To become a conscious architect, you must honor your thought like sacred ground. Choose one, hold it, infuse it with emotion, let it expand, visit it daily. Let it become your truth before it becomes your reality. You're not daydreaming, you're designing. Every breakthrough, invention, miracle, everything that has ever existed began as a thought that someone dared to believe. So believe yours, because what you think, you build. And what you build, you one day walk into as life itself. Mastery is not something you achieve, it's someone you become. It's not a place you reach after years of trying. It's an identity you integrate the moment you stop pretending to be less than who you are. The identity of mastery is not loud. It's not showy. It's calm, steady, rooted. It comes from remembering your source, reclaiming your power, and choosing to live from your highest self as a default, not as a special occasion. Your higher self is not some distant, enlightened being. It is you, unfiltered, you without the noise, you without the programming, you without the hesitation. And the more you integrate that self, the less you chase, and the more you attract. You don't need to try to be powerful, you just stop choosing to be small. In 1945, a teacher named Lorraine had spent decades molding herself into whatever was needed, quiet, agreeable, humble. Then one spring afternoon, during a moment of stillness, something cracked. She realized she didn't recognize her own voice anymore. That night she wrote a letter to herself, not as she was, but as she truly is. Bold, grounded, clear. Every day after, she read that letter aloud, not as fantasy, but as fact. Within months, she began leading seminars. Her students leaned in differently. Her presence changed. She didn't wait for mastery to arrive. She remembered that it had always been there. To integrate your higher self, you must start acting like them now. Ask, what choices would they make? What would they say no to? How would they walk, speak, rest, create? Begin small. Make decisions from that energy. Embody that posture. Feel their certainty. This isn't performance. This is alignment. Integration isn't about waiting for perfection. It's about choosing consistency. The more often you embody your higher self, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, it replaces the old pattern entirely. The identity of mastery doesn't hustle. It instructs. It doesn't prove. It projects. It doesn't fear the outcome. It assumes alignment. You don't visit this version of you for moments of inspiration. You install them into your daily life. You make space for their energy in your thoughts, your relationships, your environment. When you live from mastery, the world responds differently because your field no longer fluctuates with fear. It stabilizes with certainty. You are not evolving into power. You are stripping away what blocked it. And once you walk as your highest self, not as a concept, but as a reality, everything around you must reflect that level, not in time, but instantly, because reality honors identity, and you've finally chosen yours. There is a power in stillness that no chaos can touch. Becoming unshakable isn't about pretending you don't feel fear or never facing challenge. It's about cultivating a level of inner alignment so strong, so unwavering, that external conditions lose their power to dictate your state. You become like a mountain, weathered by storms but never moved by them. This is not detachment, it's rooted presence. It's knowing who you are so clearly that nothing outside of you can convince you otherwise. Most people live on a loop of reaction. If the day is smooth, they feel good. If something goes wrong, they spiral. Their vibration rides the wave of circumstance. But mastery begins the moment you stop letting the world decide your frequency. You choose it and you hold it, no matter what appears. In 1949, a merchant named Bernard faced the sudden collapse of his business. Everyone around him panicked. Friends said he'd never recover. But Bernard did something unexpected. He took a walk. He sat on a park bench and asked, "Who do I choose to be in this moment?" The answer came softly, anchored. He returned to his home and spent the next week in silence, visualizing, breathing, reconnecting to the version of himself that thrives regardless of the storm. Within weeks, new connections formed. He started again, not from desperation, but from alignment. Becoming unshakable doesn't mean things don't move around you. It means your core doesn't. It means the identity you've claimed doesn't evaporate under pressure. You stay aligned with your truth, not because conditions support it, but because you do. Inner alignment is not maintained by perfection. It's maintained by return. When you notice yourself shifting into fear, doubt, or frustration, pause. Don't judge, just return. Breathe, remember, recenter. That's how you build strength, not by never wobbling, but by always returning to truth faster. The unshakable ones aren't the loudest. They're the clearest. Their energy leads. Their presence stabilizes others. They move with intention, not urgency. Their outcomes don't define them. Their alignment does. When you decide who you are and commit to being that no matter what appears, life must eventually organize itself around your steadiness. Not instantly, but inevitably. Hold your alignment through contrast, through delay, through doubt. That's how you become unshakable. Not by control, but by inner choice that doesn't flinch. Reality doesn't test you, it mirrors you. The universe is not throwing challenges at you, to see if you're worthy or if you want something badly enough. That's an old story, one rooted in struggle and separation. In truth, life reflects back the dominant energy you carry, not to test your strength, but to reveal your alignment. What you experience is feedback, not judgment. And when you stop seeing resistance as failure, you begin to move through life with wisdom instead of fear. Most people hit a delay or encounter conflict and immediately shrink their vision. Maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe I did it wrong. But resistance isn't a no, it's a mirror. It's an invitation to check your signal. Am I aligned with this outcome? Am I embodying the version of me that lives it? If the answer is no, you adjust. Not because you failed, but because you're being guided back to coherence. In 1937, a seamstress named Ada finally gathered the courage to submit her designs to a prestigious fashion house. They declined her submission without explanation. For a moment, she doubted everything. But instead of quitting, she asked, "What is this showing me?" She realized she still feared being seen. Her designs were bold, but her energy was hesitant. So she shifted. She started owning her brilliance, wearing her own creations confidently. Within months, another brand discovered her, and this time they said yes. Her external world reflected her new internal truth. When you shift your response to resistance, you shift your entire relationship with reality. It's no longer adversarial. It becomes informational. Instead of resisting the resistance, you read it. You listen. You adjust with love, not panic. This doesn't mean you blame yourself for every hardship. It means you claim your power in the face of it. You ask, "What is this reflecting in me?" And you allow the answer to guide your next state, not just your next step. Life doesn't test you. You are not on trial. You are in reflection. The delay is not punishment. It's precision. It's life aligning you with a better version of what you asked for, or aligning you with the version of yourself who can actually receive it. You are not being pushed away from your desires. You are being pulled into the version of yourself who can hold them. Stop fighting the mirror. Adjust the image you send to it. When you no longer fear resistance, you stop shrinking. You expand. And in that expansion, you become the version of yourself that reality must now reflect. Not in time, but now. Everything that has happened in your life, every joy, every heartbreak, every challenge, was not random. It was chosen, not by your ego or personality, but by your soul. Your life is not a series of accidents. It is a curriculum, carefully constructed to activate the dormant power within you. Each experience is a lesson, and every lesson is an initiation. Not into hardship, but into remembrance. The soul doesn't seek comfort. It seeks expansion, and it knows that certain gifts, resilience, clarity, inner strength, can only emerge through contrast. That doesn't mean suffering is noble. It means that growth is precise. Your soul didn't choose easy. It chose necessary. In 1939, a woman named Harriet lived through a house fire that destroyed everything she owned. She called it the worst day of her life, until she realized it was the start of a new one. With nothing to lose, she followed the quiet calling she had ignored for years, to teach. That fire didn't just take her belongings, it burned away everything false. And in its ashes, she remembered who she was. Your curriculum is not about punishment. It's about permission to stop hiding, to stop delaying, to stop pretending you are anything less than powerful. The experiences that hurt you didn't break you. They built you. They revealed what had always been inside you, but had not yet been claimed. When you shift from, "Why did this happen to me?" to, "What is this awakening in me?" you reclaim your role as a conscious participant in your evolution. You no longer see life as something you endure, but as something you shape through your choices and your perspective. This doesn't mean you celebrate pain. It means you extract its wisdom. You ask, "What did this teach me? What did it unlock? Who did I become because of this?" Your life is your teacher. Your soul is the architect. And every moment is an invitation to step deeper into your remembering. When you see your life as curriculum, you stop comparing paths. You understand that your timing, your terrain, and your trials were customized for your exact activation. Nothing is wasted, not even the delays, not even the detours. You are not off track. You are in class, and you're learning to become everything you came here to be. There is one final illusion that must be dissolved for true liberation to begin. It is the belief that you must earn your worth, that you must prove yourself to be enough, that you must achieve something in order to be valuable. This illusion has ruled humanity for centuries, built into systems, cultures, and even spiritual traditions, but it has never been true. You are not here to become worthy. You are here to realize that you already are. Most people spend their lives trying to attain something that was never missing. They seek validation through work, through love, through visibility. They chase success, hoping it will finally silence the voice that whispers, "You are not enough." But no amount of accomplishment can heal a worth wound, because the wound itself is a lie. In 1942, a tailor named Elias worked tirelessly to build his business. When asked why he never took breaks, he said, "I have to be somebody." One winter, after falling ill, he was forced to rest. In that stillness, he realized something radical. The world didn't stop without him, and his family didn't love him less when he wasn't producing. He had confused value with output, worth with doing. That winter changed him. He began creating from joy, not obligation. And ironically, his business flourished more than ever. When you collapse the illusion that you must earn your right to exist, a deeper self emerges, one that doesn't need applause to feel enough, one that doesn't bend for acceptance, one that walks into a room and knows, "I belong here because I am." You don't need to perform for your power. You don't need to justify your desires. You don't need to wait for permission to take up space. The universe did not give you breath as a test. It gave it as a declaration. You are already worthy. Now live like it. Collapsing the illusion doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you stop chasing who you already are. You stop using achievement as a substitute for self-love. You begin doing things not to gain approval, but to express truth, to create joy, to serve from overflow. Ask yourself, what if I no longer needed to earn my worth? Who would I become? How would I walk, speak, rest, or love? Now choose to become that version, right now, because the final illusion only holds power if you believe it. The moment you stop trying to prove your value, you free yourself to live it. Not someday, now. Your power is not meant to be stored, it's meant to be expressed. Yet so many bottle their brilliance, waiting for the perfect time, the perfect idea, the perfect version of themselves to create. They hold it in, polish it endlessly in their minds, never releasing it into the world. But power grows through expression, not containment. What you don't express becomes pressure. What you do express becomes flow. Perfectionism is the dam. It convinces you that your power must be flawless to be worthy. It tells you to wait, to tweak, to hide your light until it's sanitized. But creation isn't clean. It's alive, it's raw and real and occasionally messy, but it moves energy, and movement is where your magic lives. In 1936, a man named Daniel sketched designs for furniture late at night, but never showed anyone. He told himself they weren't ready. One evening, his niece found a drawing and framed it. She hung it in her living room. A guest, a gallery owner, saw it, asked about the artist, and within weeks, Daniel had his first exhibit. The designs hadn't changed, his willingness had. He learned that expression opens doors that perfectionism keeps locked. Your creative power isn't limited to art. It's how you speak, how you write, how you show up in conversations, how you solve problems, how you share ideas. Every time you express without apology, you clear static from your field. You step into visibility, not for approval, but because your truth deserves air. Creation is release. When you let energy move through you, it becomes something tangible. A word, a note, a plan, a new possibility. Holding it in doesn't make it better. It makes it stuck. Don't wait to be ready. Create to become ready. Your soul is not asking you to be perfect. It's asking you to be honest, to let the energy inside you breathe. You're not here to hoard inspiration. You're here to translate it, to make the invisible visible, to give shape to spirit. Expression is activation. Every time you create, you become more of yourself. You don't find your power by thinking about it. You find it by using it. So write the thing, say the truth, share the idea, paint the picture, launch the dream, not because it's perfect, because it's yours. And when you create from truth, you no longer contain your power. You become it. This is the final shift. The moment you stop reaching for the light and realize you are the light. No longer the seeker, the student, the struggler, but the source, the generator, the one who walks not in search of power, but as its embodiment. You have read the words, practiced the rituals, tuned your frequency. Now it's time to live it, fully, freely, daily. Walking as the power you are means moving through life with the quiet certainty of someone who no longer needs to prove, earn, or wait. You don't chase alignment, you carry it. You don't ask if you're worthy, you decide that you are. This is not arrogance, it's remembrance of who you were before the world told you to forget. In 1944, a woman named Estelle had studied spiritual teachings for years. She meditated, wrote affirmations, recited mantras, yet still she hesitated to leave a toxic job. One morning she looked in the mirror and asked, "What am I waiting for?" She realized she'd been acting like a visitor in her own life, asking for signs, hoping for courage. That day she walked in, resigned with grace, and launched a service that would soon support dozens of families. Her life didn't change because she figured it out. It changed because she stepped into her role as creator. You are no longer a receiver hoping for direction. You are the directive. You don't just react to life, you write it. Your vibration is the pen. Your focus is the ink. Your choices are the strokes that carve new timelines into form. Walking as the power you are doesn't mean you'll never feel fear. It means fear no longer makes decisions for you, serves you. It means you speak from truth, not from tension. You move from knowing, not from need. This version of you does not shrink. This version of you does not apologize for your light or explain away your brilliance. You walk into rooms with your energy set, not seeking to impress, but grounded in who you are. The world feels this version. People lean in, reality aligns, not because you begged, but because you became. And in becoming, you activate others. Your presence becomes permission. You living fully becomes a map for those still searching. This is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of a new one, where you walk as the author, the artist, the source. No longer waiting for signs, no longer asking for direction, but living each moment as if your light shapes the room, because it does. You are no longer becoming. You are now being. The power was never outside you. It was always you. And now, finally, you remember.